Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Actify's Connect series. We're your hosts, Ellie Wang and Varnika Girish, and we're so excited to continue this series where we connect with leaders, advocates, and changemakers who are trying to make a difference in their communities.
Today, we are honored to be joined by Indiana State Representative Ragen, a dedicated public figure committed to strengthen communities through policy, advocacy, and civil engagement. Through her work in Indiana House Representatives, Hatcher has focused on uplifting constituents and addressing issues that matter most to everyday Hoosiers. We are excited to learn more about her journey and the work she's passionate about.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us today. Would you like to just quickly introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure. I'm Ragen Hatcher. I am a state representative for House District 3. That includes Gary, Hobart, Lake Station, and New Chicago, the Northwest Indiana area. And so I'm so happy to be on with you guys today. And I love your passion and your the basis for your organization.
Yeah, so let's just jump into the first question.
Sure.
So, what motivated you to run for this seat?
So I was on the city council in Gary for a number of years, and what I saw and learned was that much of the issues or problems that we faced here in Northwest Indiana came from the legislature. Not that they were intentional in causing issues or problems, but just that that's where it began. And so even though I was in Gary and I felt like I was making a difference on the council, I thought being in the legislature could really help even more. So I decided to run. Also, I'll add that the person who previously held this seat, Representative Charlie Brown, who was a representative for a number of years and a wonderful representative, he decided to step down at that time and he became Lake County Councilman Charlie Brown. So the seat was open and he asked if I was interested, and I was.
That's great to hear. Why do you believe it's important for young people to engage with government and public policy early in life?
So what I've noticed, and just in my research and college and history, is that most changes, most revolutions start with young people because something happens there that is unacceptable in whatever way to them. And so they organize and they get together, and usually that's where it begins. So number one, young people are so important to the overall democracy of our country. That's first off. But also, we want to teach people early on how important it is to vote. Now, my dad was part of the civil rights movement and my mom. And so I learned early on in the household how important my vote was. But as we get out and away from that 60s and 70s civil rights movement, we need to continue to teach that lesson to younger people as they come through as well, so they understand the importance of their vote. I live in Indiana and we call it a blue state, except for people don't go vote. Like we would be blue, but people don't get out and vote the way that they should. And so anytime someone asks me, what can I do to make things better? I always say, you vote and you get as many people as you can out to vote too.
Yeah, I totally agree with that message. So, our next question is, in your experience, what is one simple action teens like us can take to make their voice heard?
It is voting, and it always goes back to voting. Once you become of age, once you hit 18, you should go out and vote. And no matter what you're voting for, no matter if whether you feel passionate or not passionate about it, you should always vote. And local elections are just important as state and national elections, because what happens to you in your community is also very important. So you want to make sure you have the best representation on your school boards, on your township boards, on your city council, wherever. You want to be in charge of that. And the only way to do that is to vote.
From a young age, I've always like dreamed the second I turn 18, I wanted to vote. And I
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so nice hearing it from you. But can you share a moment when community advocacy directly influenced a decision or a policy outcome that you've
I
seen? Yeah.
I see that every year at the State House. Now, there are all kinds of legislation that comes up It's a number of legislation always filed. But when we see those really important issues, one of them was when they tried to take the union away from teachers. Teachers came out in huge numbers to protest that, and that advocacy worked. It changed the legislation where it wasn't such a negative impact. I saw it again with the Gary Community School Corporation when we were talking about who was going to be on their board after the state takeover. They came out, people came down, the buses came in, and it worked. And just this last example at the State House over December, throughout the month of December, with redistricting. I don't know if you all saw the rallies, but the rallies were huge at the State House. And everybody just thought redistricting in Indiana was going to be, just, it was just going to happen. And what we saw was that advocacy worked. People in the rural areas started calling in saying, hey, we don't want this, to their Republican representatives. People came down to the State House as Republicans and Democrats and said, we don't want this. And it worked. It did not pass. So advocacy works.
Yeah, for sure. We were very updated on the whole redistricting situation, and we interviewed Senator Andrea Hunley. I don't know if you know her, but
I
she's a
do know her.
yeah,
Yes.
very big advocate for not redistricting,
Yes.
anti-gerrymandering. So, what other skills or experiences from outside of politics have been very important or mean or valuable to you as a legislator?
So I am a lawyer, and being a lawyer gives me the background and the educational knowledge to be able to look at pieces of legislation and make determinations about, will this pass the Supreme Court? Is this in violation of our Constitution? How will this read for lawyers who see this legislation turned into law down the line? So being a lawyer has really helped me as a legislator. But also when I was on the city council, same thing. We passed city ordinances here in Gary. And so in doing that, I was able to bring that legal perspective in to help draft and make sure that those ordinances would fly if they were ever challenged. Same thing at the State House. So being a lawyer, really important. But number two, when I came out of law school, I was a prosecutor for about 3 years. And I got to see firsthand the difficulty that defendants face in court, especially defendants with little or no money, little or no education. And it made me want to advocate for them even more. And so a lot of my legislation, if you look at it, it centers around bail, um, um, offenses that you should not go to jail for, that should be a fine instead of jail time. It centers around a lot of domestic violence issues, because we see how offenders of domestic violence don't get the help that they need to not reoffend later. So those things have really helped me in being a legislator, because I got to see firsthand how the criminal justice system works.
For sure. And if you don't mind me asking, like what kind of lawyer are you?
So, such a good question because I'm all over the place, right? So, initially, I came out, I was a prosecutor, but I went from being a prosecutor to the attorney for the Gary Community School Corporation, which was school law, which is a really niche kind of law to practice. I went from there to the Calumet Township attorney, there to city council and to legislature. So really, I've ended up being a government attorney. But what I'm trained to be, what I went to law school for and received a MBA and a master's of finance for, was to be a business lawyer. So business, transactional, real estate is really what I love doing and passionate about, but I ended up kind of in this other space. So it's a little weird.
Yeah, I think it's so cool that you're a lawyer and also a legislator,
Thank you.
which in the future I want to go into the medical field, but I also definitely want to be like in government and Senate like when I'm a little older. And I think that's like really cool to see that you also do that too.
Yeah.
Um, but what's like a typical day-to-day like what would it look like for you as a state representative?
Sure. And so when we're in session about 3 months of the year. And so when we're in session, we are talking to other legislators, negotiating, trying to get bills heard in committee. Because we are a super minority as Democrats, the committees are all ran and held by Republicans. And so we have to, talk to them, ask them to put our legislation on their agenda for their committees and make it relevant to them. Why is this important to them? Why is it important to their constituency? So it's a lot of talking. That's really what it is. It's a lot of talking and a lot of working kind of through those boundaries that are set up between Democrat, Republican, urban, rural, those kind of barriers that are between us. And so we work through those during the legislative session. When we're not in session, we are part-time legislators, so we have day jobs as well. So I currently serve as the executive director of the Gary Sanitary District, and I've been doing that for about a year now. But even during that time, we're talking to people, we're finding out what other governmental entities need, what they're looking for. Some are as easy as I need a road paved. Some could be I need a new fire truck. How can we get that? How can we get those funds from the state? So we we kind of put out fires all year long. That's kind of the job. So it's exciting.
Yeah, so that's all the questions we had prepared for today. We just really want to thank you for joining us and just reminding how important civic engagement is. And your insights and advice will be very meaningful to a lot of our viewers and young people watching. We're grateful to have you on our Connect series today.
Thank you. And remember, vote, vote, vote.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you guys for having
Yeah,
me.
have a
Okay,
good one.
Yeah, you
Bye-bye.
bye bye.